register for events, safely give, and so much more. DreamCityOK.church.
Good morning, Dream City Church. Did everybody have a good Thanksgiving? Yeah, man, it's so great to see your faces here this morning. Rather you stayed here or you traveled or you just stayed on your couch by yourself, I hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. My name is Chris. I'm the kids pastor here at the King's House. I say King's House. Now it's Dream City. Wow, it just is ingrained in us, isn't it? But you guys don't get to hear from me today. So you guys have a special speaker coming here in just a few minutes. But before I introduce her, I do have a few extra announcements I want to tag into the already done announcements for you guys. You did hear about our North Pole adventure where we have school field trips coming in throughout that first week of December. Pastor Mark called me this morning and he said, make sure you reiterate, we need volunteers. And I'm like, I got you, boo. So guys, we need volunteers right outside as you are leaving. There's going to be a small table. Miss Erica will be there where you can find out more information and how you can sign up to help. It's an incredible opportunity for our church, Dream City, to be able to minister to our community. There are so many families that now call this place their home because they came with their kids to a field trip, guys, a field trip where the kids were actually presented the gospel of Jesus Christ through a Christmas presentation. So sign up for that because we do need all the hands we can get. And speaking of hands, as you guys leave today, you want to use those hands to grab as many angels off of those 2 angel trees that you saw out there. Last year when we made an announcement about Angel Tree, they were gone on that very same day. So I'm believing that we are going to be blessing so many kids this year where you guys are going to grab every single one of them off of those trees today to bless someone in need. And in addition to that, they also need volunteers because all these gifts need to be wrapped. And everybody says, yay, my favorite thing. Not mine. Mine is like, let's just put them in bags. You know what I'm saying? But the wrapping party's happening. So if you want to help volunteer for that or the actual event where you get to give the gifts to these kids, swing by the Angel Tree table out there, guys, because it's something that they also need some help with. It's a busy time of year, but it's a great time of year to reach our community, which is in need. Amen. So we are on a series ending today called Say So. Someone look at your neighbor and say so. It's from Psalm 107, verse 2, which says, let the redeemed of the Lord say so. And this is one of our favorite series that we started 3 years ago that we try to do every October, every November time. And it's just a great opportunity for us as a church body to hear other people's testimonies of what they have walked through and how God brought them through to the other side. Because how many of you guys know that it's great to be able to open up the Word of God and you're able to read through it and you can hear a message from Pastor Mark about how so-and-so went through such and such and God brought them through. It does build your faith up, but how much more do you know that it really does hit home when you hear it from someone personally in-house that you know that you can link arms with and say, you went through that, I'm going through that, your testimony's building up my faith, and so it goes. So 2 weeks ago, we did something different, and we actually brought in some guest speakers, Angel and Luis from the Fearless Identity Ministry, and they just blew the roof off of this place and telling the church how important it is to be the church to a hurting community. And then last week, we heard from our very own Desiree Cooper, Miss D-Ray, and we got to hear her story. And it's just so wonderful to see what God does in someone's life, and then also the partnership with the community of hope that's going to be happening in the next few weeks, guys. Pastor Mark's goal is to make sure that we're able to house 2 different families before Christmas. It's going to be incredible. So thank you for your prayers and your support over the community of hope. But today, you guys get to hear from a very special lady. Pastor Mark hired her to be on staff with us here at Dream City 6 months ago. She kind of jumped in with both feet, joining me and my team of leadership adults of kids camp. So it was kind of like sink or swim. Let's see if you got what it has to make it here. She is the Community of Hope director. So she kind of works one-on-one with Mark and Blake and getting the projects done and raising the funds for that. She's also the person that answers our phone calls 90% of the time because she's our benevolence department. So she's always the person that is answering those phone calls and helping with people as well. And she helps organize any outreach that our church can be a part of. So she's always looking for ways, how can our church get out there and impact our community? She's one of the most genuine and most kind individuals I've ever known. Her faith is just higher than a mountain, which challenges mine in and of itself. And if you're not careful, Dream City, if you allow her to, she will talk the paint off of the wall. Would you please stand to your feet and welcome Miss Jessica Brenner?
Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. There's a lot more of you than 9 a.m., but let's do this. I wanted to clear the air about just one thing, really. I know a couple weeks ago I was doing the announcements and my name was, next to my name it said Blake's assistant, which is not true. And so I want everybody to look back at the sound booth and say hi to my assistant Blake and look at the t-shirt that he's wearing. Blake Jennings, what? Oh, you have that on me, but not on, nobody else can see that. That's rude. That's rude. He has a picture of a t-shirt that I also have that says Blake's assistant. What a brat. Goodness gracious. Blake Jennings. Okay. His wife is the real trophy. Let's be real. Oh my gosh. She puts up with a lot. Okay. We have a really good testimony today. It's not really mine. God has obviously written it over my life and my husband and my sons. And so I'm super excited to give you guys some good, juicy details. Juicy details are what God works with. So, this is going to be good. I'm going to start off with a little love story. In 2012, I'm 19 years old. I know I don't look any older than that. And I'm working at a staffing agency here in McAlester, and I meet this beautiful redhead named Sheena Brenner. And she tells me that her brother-in-law, Lane, and I would hit it off. Like, you really got to meet this Lane guy. You got to meet this Lane guy. And I remember meeting Sayer, and I remember thinking, Sheena's husband, I remember thinking, Sheena, if he looks anything like your husband, I'll take him. Joking, obviously, but that's going to bite me. So then everyone gets a little new hire plant when you get started, or a new hire gift. And so I got a little new hire plant, and I named the plant Lane, which was funny at the time until Lane comes in. So Lane comes into our office, and he goes and gets something from Sheena, and he leaves. And I remember asking Sheena, hey, was that Lane guy that you were talking about? And she said, yeah. And I said, if he comes back in here, he gonna know who I am. I'm gonna introduce myself. And so our dress code at our office that we were working at, we had to have pantyhose and closed-toed shoes and a pencil skirt and a blazer. Like, it was a full, so I was feeling good. I was confident. I was feeling good. Lane comes back in. I walk over there. I put out my hand, and I said, hi, I'm Jessica. And he goes, hi, I'm Lane. But I know who you are. Let me see that plant that you named after me. My face is as red as a tomato. I cannot believe that Sayer and Sheena had told him what I had said. How embarrassing. I walk up and I go to my desk. I show him my plant, and we chit-chat for a second. I'm hoping that I can smooth that over a little bit. And as he's walking out the door, he turns and he says, so do I look like my brother? Yeah, you do. That Brenner blood is pretty thick. So that weekend we went on a date, and we've been together ever since. And so that was the start of our little love story. It gets a little rockier, I'll be honest. So sit back and relax, because it's gonna get good. We dated for about 3 years, and during those 3 years, the very first couple of months, I remember Lane had already had 2 DUIs by the time he was 21. He had 2 DUIs. And a couple months into dating, he got a breathalyzer in his truck. I remember thinking, oh gosh, this is a little intense, but okay. I loved him, man. I love him. And so The drinking was an issue. He wouldn't just drink like a little bit. When he would drink, he would get like blackout drunk. Like there was no middle or in the. I mean, he was if he was going to get drunk, he was going in. And so he would drink. I had to ask him this, but the 750s is what like the little half-gallon things or whatever. A lot of alcohol is what he was drinking at a time. And when that didn't work anymore, he then went to prescription pills because he was chasing that high. And so, one of the very first times I had ever saw anything like this, we were dating, and I remember walking up the stairs. He was in a back bedroom, and I went up to say hi to him, like, "Hey, I'm here." And he's in the back corner of a room, and he's sitting at a desk. And when I walk in, he quickly like crosses his arms and acts like nothing's happening when you know something was just happening. And he goes, "Oh, it's just you. I thought you were my mom." And he continues to use the driver's license and crush these pills and make a line and folds up a little, rolls up a $1 bill and snorts it, and then looks at me and says, "It's going to be a good day." And I remember thinking, whoa, like, okay, small town America. Jessica had never seen anything like that before. And so, um, I knew that there were some red flags. Like I knew that obviously wasn't normal, but he also was in a really good mood when he was high. I'll be honest. Like he was fun. He was like the life of the party. He was down for anything. And then when he wasn't on something, he was cranky and edgy and mean. And it it was just it was a roller coaster ride, to say the least. I remember thinking, I remember telling him, like, "Hey, if you love me enough, like if you love me enough, you're not going to do that anymore. Like I'm not into that. Like we gotta figure something out." And so we get married in October of 2015, and in December of 2016, so about a year into our marriage, he comes home and he says, "I need help. I need to go to rehab. I am drinking. I'm drinking all day. I'm going to work and I'm drinking. And when I can't get the drugs that I'm wanting, I'm I'm having withdrawals." He would lay in bed, and I remember the shakes and the sweats and the puking, and um, it was intense, and the mental struggles that he was walking through too. Like he knew what he was doing was wrong, but he also knew that it was making him feel good, and so it was trying to find that in between of how do I live without what I've now became addicted to. And so I remember he tells me now sober, obviously, that he remembers when he would go to his drug addict's house to get the pills or to get the drugs, that he would have to drink before going to get them because he knew in his heart, right? God was telling him, like, "Hey, this isn't what you're supposed to be doing. Like, stop what you're doing. Think about me." And he would still go and do it, but he had to get high or have a drink before he can go get his drugs because it was just such a mental pull for him. And so his drug dealer told him once, like, "Man, I'm kind of worried about you. Are you good?" And Lane said in that moment, he thought, "I am in deep. Like, my drug dealer's now checking on me. Like, dude, I'm your business. Like, hold on a second, right?" So, a year into our marriage, he says he needs to get help, and he checks himself into a rehab. And he's there for 30 days. And during those 30 days, I remember just having a complete and total, like, 2-year-old tantrum in my room. Like, "God, this was not the life that I asked for. I have done everything right. If you would just get my husband sober, then my life would be perfect. If you could get him sober, if you could fix him, then like life could be good." And I, I remember him saying, like, "Don't give up. Like, I can restore him. I can redeem him. I'm not done with him. He's mine." And I remember thinking, like, "You obviously don't see what I'm living in. Like, you don't see how he's talking to me when he doesn't have his pills. You don't see how he's acting." And so I struggled. I struggled big time in that. And my control and my codependency went to the next level. I started, I remember, like, if he ever had cash, I would make him bring me back a receipt with the exact amount of change, because he would take that change or take that cash and he would go to the liquor store. He would go get drugs. And I remember, any parents in here that have Life 360 on their kids? Yeah, I had it on my husband, and I had it ping me if he was ever within a mile of any liquor stores or any of the drug dealers' homes that I knew of. There were obviously ones that I didn't know of. And so my control and my codependency was absolutely irrational. But I thought I was helping him in that time. I thought that I like, if I can just get him to realize that you're breaking the rules, you're doing the wrong thing, like he's going to turn his life around. It obviously didn't. In the summer of 2017, Lane is working at a HVAC company here in town, and his boss had tried calling me, but I had left my phone in the car that morning because Lane and I had gotten into a fight. And I'm working out at the wellness center with my mother-in-law, and I see my brother-in-law Sayer come through the wellness center, and his face was complete and total fear and panic, like something bad had happened. And I remember him saying, we need to talk outside. And so we go out to the parking lot, and he says, Lane's boss just called me. He stole prescription pills from a customer's house, and the guy wants to press charges. This is a felony. Like, he just stole someone's prescription pills. And I remember the first thought that I had was, he took them all. He overdosed. Like, I'm going to walk into my house and he's going to be dead, because his mental state at that time was not good. He was battling that, wanting to do right, but still on the walk of the addiction, and letting those chains really hold him back. Those chains were holding him so tight. And so I remember speeding to my house, and I remember walking in that door and seeing Lane in the bathroom just bawling. He knew that he had messed up, but he also knew that he needed them, right? And so it was that pull of, I want help, but I need them. Like, I don't know how to get out of this. And I remember in that moment thinking, we are so far deep. Like, I don't know how to get out of this either. And so I still continue to pray, God, like, would you just fix him? Like, fix him, fix him. But instead of looking to God, like for my relationship with God to get stronger, for me to release that control and that codependency, my whole focus was on Lane's sobriety. If Lane would get sober, then everything would be okay. And so he goes back to rehab a second time that summer in 2017. And I do think that something helped. I think that helped. I think that he started to take it a little more seriously. But a couple months after rehab that second time, he relapsed again. And I was exhausted. I was exhausted, to say the least. I was on a roller coaster ride that I didn't sign up for. Anybody else been on a roller coaster ride like that, where you want to get out and you're in there? And so I remember my sister and my best friend Gina from high school. They lived in Colorado, and so I took a flight. I went and had a girls' weekend, and while I was there, I went on a hike, and I remember just praying to God, like, help me, show me what I'm supposed to do, because I am at my wit's end. And, we're barely married a couple of years, and we don't have any kids. I have family and friends telling me, like, hey, you can get out of this. Like, you get out, you start fresh. But I also know what God had told me. God said that he was going to redeem my husband. He told me that he was going to restore our marriage. And so I had a choice. I was either going to listen to the lies of the enemies, not that my family and friends were that. They cared about me, and they loved me, and they wanted me to be happy. But I also knew what God had spoke to me. And so while I'm on a hike in Colorado, I had this like little light bulb moment. And I remember I work for a staffing agency that has over 700 offices. They have tons here in Colorado. I'll just submit my resume and see what happens. If I get a job offer, then maybe we can start fresh, right? I get 4 job offers. I take a job in Littleton, Colorado, and I tell Lane, like, if you want in this, then you're gonna pack up and move. Me kind of controlling and codependently thinking, maybe if we leave, then your addiction and alcoholism maybe will like stay here in McAllister, just for like a fun update. That obviously doesn't happen, just so you guys know. We moved to Colorado, and I require Lane to go to a meeting. I tell him, like, we are going to go to an AA, or we're going to go to some kind of a meeting. You need help, and I'm going to go with you. I was going to go with him to make sure he was going to the meeting, not obviously for that kind of a support, I'll be honest. And so there was a church down the road from where we lived, and they had a program called Regeneration, which is super similar to our Celebrate Recovery. That's on Monday nights at 6 o'clock, AO. And so we go, and as I walk in the doors, God literally just says, like, hey, glad I got your attention. You have some major codependency issues. You have some major control issues. Your perfectionism is literally eating you alive. And I just wanted to let you know, Lane's not yours. Lane is actually mine. Like God, that's God's kid. That's not mine. It's not that is God's first and foremost. And so I remember that night, I went to a group, and I remember just sharing with them that I had had a moment of like, it's not just Lane. Like, hold on a second. If Lane would have got sober, my life was going to be great, and that was funny. I had some major things that were not healthy coming into that, and so I remember from that moment just working on me. So I stopped with the ultimatums. I stopped with the judgmental remarks. I took it back to kindergarten, and if I didn't have anything nice to say, I didn't say anything at all. And I started going to counseling and started working through some of those emotions and some of those hurts that I had been carrying. And I remember Lane saying, like, what's wrong with you? Like, you're not getting mad anymore. Like, what's going on? Like, something's different. And I remember telling him, like, I'm not going to fix my eyes on you anymore. I'm going to fix my eyes on God, because he's the only one that can get us out of this. And so I remember just, I'm talking like, it was like I had drank out of a gallon of water. Like, I could not get enough of my Bible. I could not get it. It was the first time that I had really like built a solid relationship with God, not in the midst of a situation, right? Like, I wanted that intimacy with God above all things. And so my heart started to change, and Lane started to change. It was like I was putting him in a box, and then as soon as I stopped caring and focusing on what his wrongs were, I was able to really focus on what God wanted for us to do. And so I remember Lane's relapses going farther and farther from each other. He was still having the relapses, but it wasn't with pills anymore, which I was excited about. It wasn't with gallons of vodka. It was with little pocket shots. And that was some progress. We're not looking for perfection. We were just looking for a little progress, right? And so I remember Lane go. He went. Well, I'm going to get ahead of myself. That'll be a good one in a second. I just remember focusing on God and my relationship, and then things starting to really, they weren't perfect, but it was getting better. There was like a light at the end of the tunnel. And so in January of 2019, Lane took his last drink. He is now 5 years, he'll be 5 years sober in January, which is amazing. And I just remember Lane's whole demeanor changed. What used to be like this hard shell, he like finally got a little light back, and it was without a drug. And so I thought, okay, like there's some hope in this, right? And so in in July of 2017, he is working at an HVAC company, and he falls 3 stories and cracks his calcaneus heel. That's where he was at working, and his left foot hit cement and his right foot hit grass. And yeah, that's how big his foot was. It was bad, you guys. But let me tell you what my husband did, and this is when I knew something was different. He told the surgeon, I'm an addict. I can't have any medicine. I can't have any pain pills, right? Like, I can't do that. And so he goes through the surgery. He gets a nerve block in his leg to keep him for 12 hours. And he goes through the whole entire recovery process without any pain medicine. And I knew in that moment, okay, like God is real. God is doing something in his heart. Because before, that would have been a freebie. That's what you call it, like a little freebie. I got me a freebie. Look, I got it from a real doctor. I didn't even buy it off the streets. Like, this is good. And so, yes, Lane celebrates 5 years sober in January, which is absolutely by the grace of God. And in December of 2018, I found out I had stage 4 endometriosis. I had a mass on my right ovary that was 11 centimeters and a mass on my left ovary that was 9 centimeters. And so we went in for an emergency surgery. They said that they may have to take my ovaries out, and the chances of us having natural babies didn't look too good. They said that probably wasn't going to happen. And so I remember being distraught about that, right? Like my husband's kind of getting his stuff together. I'm barely holding on to that, but now you're telling us this. And we went in for the surgery. They were able to save my ovaries, and no surprise to anyone in here, I'm sure, 6 months later, I'm pregnant, right? So pretty, right? Yeah, it's like amazing, a complete miracle little nugget. And so we moved back to Oklahoma because Colorado was expensive as it already was without thinking about a baby and that kind of stuff, you know. And so we moved back to Oklahoma, and Wyatt was due in March of 2020. And on November 17th, I started feeling super sick. I was cramping. Was super nauseous. I felt like something was wrong, and so I took a hot bath. When I got out of the bath, I was bleeding, and I thought that's definitely probably not normal. And so I remember calling a couple friends in the medical field and just asking like what their opinion was, and they said you should probably just go and get checked out just to make sure that everything's okay. You'll sleep a lot better if you go and get it checked out, you know. And so I go to the hospital, and as we're on our way to the hospital, we had been going to Talihina, and so there was no way I was going to be able to make it to Talihina. And so Lane and I are like, Lane wants to go to Talihina, I want to go to the closest hospital. And so we go to McAllister, really against Lane's request, and we go in, and within 7 minutes of getting to the hospital, my water breaks, and we are having a baby. Like today, this is it. He's 24 weeks, and it's our time to shine. Let's do this, right? And so they start unhooking me. The sweet nurse comes in. Her name was May Durant, and she just looks at me and she says, he's 24 weeks. We're going to do everything we can. We have 20 minutes to get him out, and we got to go. And so they start wheeling me over into the OR. The lights are so bright. The room is freezing cold. Everyone's face in that room was pure panic. I mean, like just complete and total, like, we aren't ready for this, right? 24 weeks in McAllister, Oklahoma. And so I remember one nurse on the phone calling St. Francis to go ahead and get the helicopter to head this way so they could intubate Wyatt. And I just remember it being complete and total chaos in there. It was quiet. There was like, you could just feel how scared everyone was, including me. I was saying on repeat, God's got this, he's in control. God's got this, he's in control. God's got this, he's in control. I sounded like a broken record. I couldn't stop because I was so in my head. And I remember a nurse comes in, and I knew who she was. And so I said, Kaylana, come over here. I need you to pray right now. And so they prayed over me. And I remember telling the doctor, like, put me to sleep. This is taking forever. I'm scared. And I woke up in excruciating pain. And I remember meeting Wyatt for the first time in a little isolate box. They had him already like wrapped up. He was intubated. I have a couple pictures of what he looked like as a little baby. And he was tiny. He was 1 pound, 8 ounces, 12 inches long. He was a fighter from the beginning, man. He was a fighter. And so Lane comes in and he says, I named him Wyatt Ray. He was 24 weeks. We had talked about it, but we hadn't confirmed a name. We didn't have a nursery. We didn't have a car seat. I remember Lane coming in and going, baby, I gotta go to the car seat. And I remember, baby, he ain't gonna be in a car seat for a little bit. Like, we got some time, right? And so Lane goes to the hospital in St. Francis, and I stay there for a couple days. And we spent the next 113 days there at St. Francis, and it was a roller coaster ride. I remember walking in for the very first time, and my sober husband, right? He's sober, not even a year sober, but he's doing it. He walks me into the room, and he's showing me Wyatt and all these machines and the tubes and what everything's doing, and introducing me to the nurse. And I remember looking like just feeling like I was in a dream. Like, hold on a second. Like, my husband's sober. He's here right now with me, and he's supporting me. He's introducing me to the baby, and to, like there was just such a moment of like, okay, God's got this, right? Like, God's got this. Okay, like, we're good. And so I remember I had a choice, right? I had a choice. I was either going to listen to the lies, the enemy's lies of like, hey, he's so critical. There's not a chance that he's going to make it. He's got a 25% chance to live. He is bruised up. He is on all the oxygen that he can get. The list of things that were going against Wyatt was significantly larger than the list of things that were going for him. But that's kind of where God does the best with his stuff, right? Like, he's like, hey, put me in. This is my moment. I'll shine, right? And so I just remember thinking, like, from this moment on, I have seen so many miracles in our life. I have seen God heal my husband. I have seen God heal my heart and my control and my codependency. I have seen God completely change our life in the matter of years. And so this wasn't going to be anything different. And so I just remember speaking life over Wyatt. Like, you are going to live. You are a child of God. You're going to be a walking testimony. And on day 7 of life, our neonatologist says he has a grade 4 brain bleed on his left side and a grade 3 brain bleed on his right side. And time's going to tell. I'm not sure what that's going to look like, right? Like, he's probably not going to walk. He might not talk. And I remember looking at the doctor and saying, oh, our God's got that. That's nothing. Like, he's got that. That's not a big deal. And I remember just every person that would even look at me, the security guard, the cafeteria ladies, anyone that looked in my eyes or made any kind of a contact, I would make sure they knew Wyatt Ray Brenner, who he was, where he was, and ask for prayers. And then I'd ask for that. Like, God was just in the center of all of it. And when you're in that kind of a moment, you get to decide, am I going to look at this like with a victim mentality? Am I going to look at it with like, oh, this is sad? Or was it so cool that I got to watch my kid completely watch him be built from the outside in, right? Normally it's the other way around. And so it was just the most beautiful experience. And so I remember one night the doctor's calling and saying he wasn't going to make it through the night. This was it. You needed to come in and say your goodbyes. And I remember going to the hospital. We lived at the little Ronald McDonald House just in that next block over. And I remember going in, and a nurse met us at the doors. And I remember her, she had been crying. And I remember walking to our hallway, and the whole hallway was crowded. The whole hallway was filled with people. And I remember thinking, that's not good. In NICU world, you learn things pretty quick, and if there's that many people, it's normally not a celebratory moment. And so I remember walking in. I remember the neonatologist giving me a hug and saying, like, now this is the goodbye. And I remember walking in and feeling God's presence like never before. I knew that God was going to make it. I knew that he was going to be a testimony. I knew that he was going to be a miracle. And I walked in and I told Wyatt, I said, you are a child of God. It's not in your strength. God's going to heal this. Like, God has you, Bubba. You just hang on, and God's going to do a miracle. And I remember everyone looking at me like, girl, you obviously aren't looking at like the reports and the numbers. And do you see your baby? His belly is black and blue. Like, something is wrong. And I just remember having such a confidence in who our God was, because I just watched him do so many miracles in my own life. And so this was going to be another one. And I just, there were so many moments of Wyatt looking like it was going to be one thing, but our God gets to have the final say, right? He's our ultimate physician. He is the one that makes miracles happen. And so I think it's beautiful because there's an opportunity for us to always look to the good, even though the things that are going in our head. There was moments where I could have got on Google and looked up what's XYZ, and it was going to tell me your kid's going to die, right? Or I could put my trust in God, who I depend on, who I know has healed, who I know has restored and redeemed. And so that's exactly what I did. And so for the next 113 days, Wyatt came home. He had a Broviac and a little ileostomy, a little poop bag. It was the cutest thing in the whole world. And he was on 24-hour like TPN care. I mean, he got a lot of attention, and he definitely still requires that. And so I'm going to bring out a couple pretty cool guys that I think are pretty special and walking miracles in my book. This is my husband Lane and Wyatt. Okay, he really normally likes to talk on the microphone. He gets stage fright. He'll learn. And so I wanted to show you guys just what God is capable of doing. There's not one thing that God can't do. And so if you're in a season where you're on a roller coaster ride, or where you're feeling like I am in over my head and your eyes are maybe fixed on the situation, I would encourage you to fix your eyes on him, because he's the one that can restore, he's the one that can redeem, and he's the one that can get you out of that. And so I am so excited to see what else God has in store for our family, because I just know that there's going to be even more goodness, because that's who he is. He's good and he's full of love. So I want to invite the prayer team to come up, and we thought today, if you had something in your life where you are feeling like you're on that roller coaster ride, or something that you're wanting to give up, if you want to say, today I'm not allowing that enemy to have any chains on my life, I want to invite you guys to come up. We're going to have some prayer music, and just allow our prayer team to pray with you and believe that God can do all things, and that he is a man of miracles. And so I'm going to end in prayer, and thank you guys for letting me come up here. This was fun. I don't want to do it a lot, but okay. Anyways. Okay. God, I thank you for the miracles that you have given us in our lives. And I pray that you have opened up hearts today to really believe and truly know that you are who you say you are, God, that it's not just a story in the Bible, that God, that you are real, and that your Holy Spirit is with us. And I just truly believe that chains have been broken today. I believe that you are up to something good, and I just thank you for who you are, and that you have created us for big things. And we love you, God. We love you so much, and we just say this in your precious Son's name. Amen.